Welcome back, everyone. As I said before, I'm going to be making a small series of videos focused on helping bridge the divide between crypto projects and token holders. I plan to help provide helpful advice for projects and share my perspective as a token holder or community member, as well as help token holders and community members understand a few things, as well as projects. so, um, Today's video is going to be based on delivery, timelines, and roadmaps. And so this is a very hot topic, and I know that there can be a lot of frustration in this crypto digital asset space when it comes to projects, especially those that are creating on the blockchains themselves, which is my focus. So I wanted to address this today because it is great to have a vision of where you want to go and as a product or service. And it's even better if you have an idea of how long it's going to take you to get there and the resources you're going to need. So I believe this will help. This may seem kind of vague starting off, but I believe as we go, it will become more and more clear towards the end. And I believe that this will help. This video might only get, 30 views, but, hopefully what I'm creating will help someone. And so that is the hope because I am actually trying to be here to help. But that being said, what can I do to add to the community? What can I do to bring? I can bring a little bit of my expertise and try to help where I can. And that's what I'm here to do. So, as a token holder, you are probably interested in knowing what to expect, right? You're wanting to know how the team behind a project is going to deliver, especially when there's utility involved with the token. Price go up, or hopefully whenever that utility comes out, hopefully when there's a true use case for it. And you want to be aware of those timings. Now, those may not always be available. Depending upon the project, you may want to keep track of those things, especially if you believe the project's going somewhere. No one wants a project who, the rubber doesn't meet the road and they don't deliver what they say they're going to deliver. Thankfully, I've been around many projects that have done their best, and even with volunteer teams, to create lots of value and do amazing things. And I'm very privileged to be, around those people. But that being said, you as a token holder are interested in those things. And as a project, you really do want to deliver. And it's frustrating for any team whenever you're not able to deliver as you want. So what if a project misses a deadline? For the project, the people involved with it, you may be feeling bad that you didn't deliver on the date you said. You may be frustrated between the community's expectations and your delivery. Like, it's hard when you're stuck and you're trying to do the best you can, and maybe you feel like community members are not liking what you're doing, or that you haven't fulfilled it, or maybe they just have this overwhelming, trust in you, if ideally, right? But that's not every project for sure. But as a token holder, you may lose trust in the project, and you may want to dump that token if the project or ecosystem isn't meeting the expectations, especially those expectations that a project communicates themselves. Like when the project says it's going to be, and this is the main problem we're trying to attack here, guys, is when a project or a company says, hey, we're going to have this out for our customers at this time, and this is what it's going to take, and this is the date you should expect it. Okay, well, that's now thrown out to the community and token holders and speculators and stockholders and all those things. And of course, this is not financial advice, but I'm just saying that in these spaces, like, this creates a set of expectations. Now, you can say you can throw out no roadmap, and that's not a good solution either, right? Because then it's vague and people don't necessarily know when you're going to try to deliver things. So, how does this simple matter of delivery keep tripping up trust in the crypto community? It's the same problem that has tripped up projects of all kinds and affected all kinds of companies before you and me were even here, right? So, but don't worry though, I do have some practices, and I am going someplace that have helped most companies do extremely well in this area if done right. For crypto, I believe it's an almost foolproof way to communicate with your community and maintain trust in token holders. And I think that, again, transparency is always key. The more transparent you can be, unless you have like some kind of crazy direct competitor, in which case it may not be as easy. And there are nuances to things, and I get that. But again, this is just a tool. Use it for what you will. It may be a tool you want to adapt for your work. It may be a tool you want to adapt for a side project. But these things can help. But first, both token holders and projects need to understand that not all work is created equal. And this brings us to the Cynefin framework. Below that, there is a clear domain, complicated, complex, and chaotic. Now, I'm not trying to dive too deep into this, as it gets pretty deep, and there's a whole lot of science behind this, but not diving too deep into this, as it gets pretty deep. What you need to know is that software development lies in this complicated and sometimes overflows into this complex area and is usually in this liminal space. And so, again, we're not going to dive into it simply to say, so what does it matter? What does this work having to be different and this chart have anything to do with my crypto project delivering on time? It's because the work is not clear and it's not simple, and it requires a different way of planning and estimating than you would a normal set of tasks or a project. There are a few different ways we can tackle this in Agile, that depending upon the project and the context. But for the sake of this video, we're going to focus on pointing, and for some, they may notice story pointing, but we're just going to call it pointing for the sake of this video. If you want some methods and you want to reach out to me for more methods, depending upon your context, and you're struggling with this as a project, I'm happy to help you. You can reach out to my DMs on Twitter or LinkedIn. They are open. But so what is pointing? What advantage does it give for planning or delivering on milestones for a project? How will it help your token holders build confidence in the project? Well, I'm glad you asked, because that's what we're about to get into. Pointing, also known as, again, story pointing, is the practice of assigning a number to an item of work that compose your deliverable. For example, let's imagine you're a project, just like you are, right? A crypto project, and you just launched a token. One of the deliverables you put out on social media was to create a website. Let's imagine the person doing this is the entrepreneurial type and not technical for a second. They may have gotten help to launch their token, and they knew how to set up a social media account, but this person has not made a website before. At this point, you're a project, and you may be thinking, this is stupid, I'm a developer, yada yada yada. But trust me, stick around, this will help. For token holders, you need to understand that this is a way that you can help identify that projects are using this method as a way to be successful. But moving on. So, using a website, for an example, first, I always recommend delivering incrementally and iteratively, if and where at all possible. Small releases, more often, building on what you have. For this example, for the website, you decide you want to deliver an in-construction page first, and then a home page. And so then a contact page, and so on, right? So you're going to build out a website. First, you're going to have an in-construction page. So first, when you want to do this, you list out the different items you will take to the website. So first, you want to secure your URL. You want to find one that you like. You want to figure out hosting and costs. Download WordPress, maybe. Choose your WordPress template. That can take forever, right? Get your SSL cert, set up the necessary security, and create an under construction page. And voila, you are done at that point, right? These are the things that you research and you figure out you need to do. So that's everything up to your first, quote, deliverable, right? The great hello world moment where your under construction page is launched, that you can brag about, that you can say, hey, you can see this is happening, this is being done. So using that example, now let's size or point that work. And so before we get started, when you size an item, teams often use the Fibonacci sequence, which is 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, and 21. And of course it goes on, but we're just going to use those for now. Usually things don't get over that unless you're doing some very large year-long planning. And again, that just depends on what it is. And also it's very important to, of course, the people that are doing the work need to be the ones sizing it. Just want to throw that out there. It can't just be a boss sizing or a manager sizing this work for people. The importance is the team comes up with these numbers by themselves. And again, if you want more knowledge on it, I can get into that later. Now, how you size things is going to depend on the amount of effort you think it will take to get done. Projects should take into consideration the relative size. So if you identify a 1, then a 2 should be twice as much effort as a 1, and so on and so on. So in this case, we have numbered the different items of work here. And so you have the 2, now secure URL is a 2, figure out hosting and costs is a 3. You might want to do some price, price comparisons and, review searching based on the hosting and so on. You want to download WordPress. You found a good YouTube tutorial that seems very easy to you. You do that. Choosing the WordPress template you like, that, of course, you might do a lot of searching and, you get the idea. This is where we're going. These things are not all the same size work, and they require different amounts of effort and so on. And when we think of effort, we want to think of the time that it will take, how complex the work is, how risky, and how uncertain. So let's point out that work in the below items, which we've just talked about. And so now that you have these pointed, this gives you an understanding of the amount of effort. This applies to a lone creator as well as a team because it helps you to understand your what we call your velocity. Or sorry, this what you call your velocity. And so, which is your velocity is how you are able to get work done and how much work you're able to get done in a certain amount of time. And Agile will use this measure velocity every week or two. So we take a week or two and we say, okay, how much can we get done? And how much can we plan we can get done based on how much we know that we have done in the past? And so this, you can use this in an evil way. This is not, we're going to assume everyone has good intentions here and is not going to bash their teams over the head with their velocity, which is a bad practice, by the way. But this is something that you can use to help plan. This is the focus. This is how you communicate with your business, your stakeholders, your customers, and that's the way we're using it today. So the first week, you complete 11 points. You secure your URL, you figure out your hosting, you download your WordPress, and you choose your WordPress template you like. Man, you got a lot done, 11 points. But you know what? You realized you're maybe not be full-time at this, and you have put in a lot of time, and so you try to make it more sustainable next week for yourself. So second week, you did 5 points, and so you feel that's a pretty good pace. And the third week, you did 4 because, whatever. Your under construction page is done, and let's say you have other items that you have pointed out, and they have, there were 4 points, and now you've delivered that. So you now have the first week, which we're going to be looking at velocity in this week is 11. The next is 5 and 4 points. So before the project heads into its 4th week, you get asked by a prospective token holder or a stakeholder or customer, insert person here, when will the whole website be done and what's the first, and that first utility you promised? And so now you can give them a couple different answers. One, you can tell them, the whole thing, which I guess I missed a part of this, that, so let's say your velocity the first week and you listed out all the work items you wanted to get done on the website, that's even more than what's shown here. And that took 80 points. Let's just say all those tasks equaled 80 points. You could tell a customer, or stakeholder or whatever, we estimated 80 points of work and we've done about 23. But chances are they won't care and they just want to know when it will be done. We have to take the numbers and plot them against your goal of 80 points is kind of where this is going. We get what's called a burn down chart, and that will help us visualize this. This chart shows you, as you can see here, how you are burning down your work. As you can see here, these you started at 80, then you minus 11, then I think we said 5. Anyways, you get the idea. It's going. This blue line is you burning down. This is your velocity, and this ideal line here is of course your ideal line, and this late line is if you based on different how much you could be on or off. And so you give yourself an amount of gap here based on the number of points and the total work. But again, this chart shows you how you're burning down your work towards the goal. The next great part of this and is the more you do this, the more data you have, the better you get at estimating, generally speaking. So the longer you do this practice, the better you and your teams will be able to show when you're able to deliver something. But now you have now you have numbers to play with that give you a range and when you are likely to best be done. A best and worst case scenario as well. Even though the red, green is usually best case, but I switched red and green, so sue me. They're there. You can change them if you want to later. Which is, I made a template. We'll get to that in a second. But again, now you can tell your community you are likely to be done between 5 and 12 weeks from now. And so, that's 8 and 15. So I've changed this example since, so I apologize. But anyways, this takes away the pressure on the date of the team because you as a team want to be able to give accurate information. But if you're able to give a range and it's an actual accurate range based on data, then you are more likely to meet that range, unless incredibly unforeseen circumstances, of course. But for the token holder, it provides a more reasonable understanding of when the work will be done. If a project were to be so bold, they could even publish this burn down for their next pressing deliverable. How would that be for transparency? How much more would that breed trust in a project and what they're doing? Yes, these numbers could be made up. Yes, you could show different parts and, Easter egg what you're doing, and that's good as well. But how much more would this add to the conversation? And I don't know, you can tell me in the comments. Do you feel like as a token holder you'd like to see this? Is this the kind of transparency you would like to see in the deliverables of your projects that you're holding? Some things I think token holders should understand is that sometimes things are not as easy as planned. Of course, you you can make a plan, but then throw it out. The planning is still useful. Making the plan and that coordination is probably the most valuable thing. The plan itself, not so much. But not every story point is equal either. Sometimes a 3 turns into a 5 or even an 8 because you actually get into the work and understand it's more complex. You don't need to resize all your numbers. You don't need to go in there and change things. It'll average out over time, and you'll see eventually in this chart, you can divide your different weekly velocities in total by the number of weeks that you have done, and you'll get an average, and you can use that average to even help you better plan. But sometimes developers, again, find out that the work is not what they had considered, so that 80 points that was total could be 90 or 120, or far more, depending upon, the volatility and craziness of the legislation and all the other things that happen in the crypto space that we cannot necessarily plan for. The more that projects and teams use this method correctly, though, the more accurate they will usually get over time, as I've said, especially with a persistent team. Like if your team changes all the time, you're not going to have an average velocity, and you're not going to have the same team, and so you get the idea. For projects, if you want to deliver and communicate well with your users, your stakeholders, and hopefully customers, and, if you're a team inside of a project, you're a business that is asking this because they want to be able to give dates to marketing and to customers and all these different things, then this is a really good practice, to be consistent in and to do, even though it may not be as fun or as interesting or as doing some of the other work. But this is what I have for you all. This is, let me know, again, your comments below. I do have something else. So this is what I created for the example. As you can see, this is the Fibonacci sequence. These are the different examples I had. I've created this for the community. I'll probably link it somewhere or a copy of it in the description below for you to use on your own. It's going to be really easy, actually. All you have to do is name the tasks you want to do and fill out the purple. So I guess I could make these purple too. But you really only have to fill out, I guess, what's in purple. And again, I may color this purple by the time I release this. because everything in purple is what you need. And then you just put in the week, the points that you have for the task, the week that you completed it, and then everything else, maybe the total that you have here, the total that it makes up. Which if you want to get to the total, all you have to do is select everything, and it comes down to a sum here. So drag select, it'll show 80, and you can put whatever that different number is here, and put how many points of a variance you want, and it will show you that graph, and it will show you what you need to know to be able to communicate those things. Now, again, I've created this tool. I doubt anyone will use it because no one seems to listen to me, which is fine. I mean, I'm can talk into the wind sometimes, but I use this at work on a daily basis. It helps teams. Like, it works, and I just don't understand why the crypto industry seems to think that they're different in some ways. And I've had other talks with agilists and people that know about these techniques, and they it's helping them. I've talked to a prominent leader in XDC. I don't know if he uses this exact practice, but I know he uses other agile practices that are probably helping him. But again, I'll put this out there. Links will be in the description below. Again, I only want to help the community. I know that there's lots out there, and I really do believe that when a project, it's really hard for them because they really do want to deliver and they want to impress the community, and they have great world-changing ideas. But it's hard, and me, even some drama. Just to be completely clear and transparent, I've had this going. I've built this for like 2 weeks, but there's some drama that happened out on Twitter and some Telegram stuff, and I was just like, you know what? This is just a really good time for me just to put some effort into this and to try to help wherever I can. For whatever trouble I may get into, it's just because I'm trying to help. So thank you all for watching. If you have taken the time to finish this, I hope you find it helpful. If again, my DMs and both Twitter and LinkedIn are open if you'd like to contact me. But yep, I'm JTXRP. Would love your thoughts and comments below. I'm out.